everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for today's webinar, Mastering Cannabis Operations, Reporting and Business Intelligence. My name is Rain Carpenter, and I'm on the marketing team here at SilverLeaf. Just a couple things to go through before I hand it over to today's presenters. Everyone is muted and the session is being recorded. Keep an eye out for an email in your inbox at the end of today's session. We have built a page for you guys to learn a little bit more about SilverLeaf and how it can help you scale your cannabis operations. Unfortunately, we do not foresee having time for questions at the end of today's session due to time constraints, but we would love to answer any question that you possibly could have. So send those over to insider@silverleafcbc.com. Today's presenters have a ton of insightful information to share with you. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to them, Sarah Silver and Matt Goodson.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Sarah Silver, and I'm the Director of Horticulture Solutions at Velasio, which means I'm responsible for our software strategy as it fits into the cannabis industry as well as horticulture space. And with me today is one of our senior consultants, Matt Goodson. Matt, why don't you say a little about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a senior consultant. Been implementing the SilverLeaf product for the last, I don't know, it's been a little 3-4 years now. I've been in the cannabis industry for the last 7 years, I want to say roughly. Yeah, got a lot of experience. Oh, no problem. A lot of experience, knowledge, and that I've been across the United States and Canada that I've been applying to the cannabis industry.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Matt. Thank you for joining me today, because you're going to be the real world. I kind of sit in the office and design the software and work with customers at a high level, but you're the man on the ground. So that's why I wanted you here today. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction about our software and about some of the reporting options that I kind of break down into 4 areas. And then we'll look at some real world examples that we've created from some of the work that we've done with our existing customers. So first, let's talk about what is SilverLeaf. SilverLeaf is a cannabis, well, we have a horticulture based and then a cannabis specific version solution that sits on top of Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. So we've taken Business Central, which is a world-class ERP solution that's sold, hundreds of thousands of users around the world. And we've added a layer to it to specifically meet the needs of the cannabis industry. We've been working in this space for over 8 years. We met one cannabis company and learned about them and realized our solution, our ERP solution, was a great fit, and we started to tweak it, and that's where we began to develop SilverLeaf. So we've served many both single state operators as well as multi-state operators around the country. We're validated with metric in, it says here 15 states, but I think it might be more than that. We'll be working on a BioTrack integration early next year. So that's a little bit about SilverLeaf. So I'm going to go ahead now and hop into the demo part. I'm going to turn off my camera so I don't have to see myself, quite frankly. And now we'll go into the software itself. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's see, I want to go into this one. And I first want to show you within Business Central some of the reporting tools that are available. So I'm in right now in our SilverLeaf application within Business Central, and I'm in a role center, you'll see, which is kind of like the home page for someone who works in cultivation. Our previous webinars didn't really cover cultivation very much, so I thought today we'd talk more, use cultivation as kind of the basis, because that seems to be so data centric. So in my dashboard, I can see some important information about what's going on. And in fact, here I have a little business intelligence right here. I have a graphic showing me about my current plants that are in production. Now, bear with me. I have a habit of starting grow processes in my sample data and not ending them. So I know it doesn't take 1.5 years to harvest something. That said, let's go ahead and look here. I see that I have within the vegetative phase 182 plants that are Blue Dream. And I can click on that and see all my Blue Dream that I'm growing right now. And when I open up this one batch, I can see all the plants in the batch. And notice if I'm tied into metric, I've got metric tag information about those plants. And from here, I can even go in and view the order and see information about this cultivation process. And as the screen's filling down here at the bottom, we can see, again, details about all the plants. And maybe, I don't know if I had any destruction, but if I had maybe destroyed some plants or turned some plants into mothers, we'd see that here. So we can see the disposition of every tag in this batch. And then down here, I can see based on, there's a whole bunch of settings in SilverLeaf where we can define what we call our grow defaults, and we can identify what we expect each plant to harvest, what the mortality rates are, et cetera. And so down here at the bottom, based on all those grow defaults, I can see what our expected biomass is going to be, how many grams, how many plants we expect to output. So I've got 81.7 I'm expecting, and 550 grams per plant, which gets me to how much biomass we expect we're going to have. So this is all data. The reason I took a moment to show you this is just to see the sort of wealth of data that's available to us. So one way to get at that data, as I've been doing, is kind of pointing and clicking around. And you'll find that Business Central is a very interactive tool. If I want to know information about my mother plants, I can just click on them and I can quickly get to information without really printing reports like we did in legacy ERP solutions. That said, Business Central has, I just heard this fact this morning, over 880 reports in it. So I can always come into Business Central and print any report if I don't feel like clicking. So I could go, for example, let's actually do an inventory valuation. So I can go ahead and pull up my inventory valuation. I had a button for it on my homepage. And I can pull that valuation as of today. So this will tell me, based on, this is an accountant's dream come true. I can see all my different inventory items, what my quantity on hand is, and their value. And I think in the first webinar in our series, we talked all about the accounting bits. So here's a little bit of information. Again, this is just paper-based reporting. It's also likely that you might be Excel users in your company, and you can create all kinds of reports in Business Central and either export them to Excel or work with an Excel-based report writer. So here's a financial statement that we created for one of our customers, and you'll see we have, what's going on over here? Let me scroll over. There we go. We have a trial balance that shows us, an income statement that shows us some details about this company. We can drill down on it. If you're a cannabis company, you probably have multiple entities. So as I open, I can drill down and see how my parent company broke out into these separate entities. So here we see we have Arizona, Michigan, and California, and our merchandise line. I can also look at our expenses the same way. Scroll over, there we go. So here's all of our expenses. And again, I can open those up by entity as well. And again, this is data that all came from Business Central. We have an Excel-based reporting option. And so you can create your templates in Excel and then hit a button and those will refresh and populate with current data. A lot of people love Excel, and I know I do. And so that's also a common way to get reports. Next level of sophistication is using something called Microsoft Power BI, which we mentioned in our intro. Power BI is part of the Microsoft Modern Office platform, and it's a productivity tool that I know our company uses for all kinds of things. I probably have 100 Power BI reports at Velocio to help me understand what our business is doing. Similarly, cannabis companies can do the same thing. So I've got two that I'm going to show you today. The first one, I like this one to show you, even though it's not, this is about a horticulture company growing flowers, not cannabis, but you'll get the idea, it's the same thing. I love this report because it shows us all kinds of drill down, and it's got more pretty stuff than some of our other examples. But here you'll see we have different product lines. I can see what our revenue is for the current period, the same period last year, and then like this might be the current year, this is the prior year, and then prior year to date, and then this would be the prior year whole year. If I click on one, notice all my reports filter to that product line. So I can see how we're doing in e-commerce only if I want to. And I can click off of there and get it all back. Here I can see how I'm doing current year versus prior year. So overall, I'm up $730,000 compared to last year. Year to date and overall. If I click on the sales history, here I get, again, just more information. Here I've broken out plants by genus type, and we can see a lot of the same information. If I click on one genus, I can see the different items and their performance over the past 4 years. Some of this data is old, as you can see. And also over here, I can see credits by reason code. So every time we had to give a return to a customer, we have the reason code, and we can see how what's causing that, what's causing these returns. Let's see. So here I can see overall fungus has been a big problem. In this one, I can look at all of our different ship to locations, and here I've got our top customers in a pie chart. And this one, I don't know if anyone uses these things, but they sure are fun to show. Here we've got a map, and I can drill into the Southwest and see how we're doing in the Southwest, and even zoom in, and I could have little pinpoints of where all of our customers are. So you can do all kinds of visualization right inside of Power BI. As I mentioned, this is just a general horticulture report. Now let's look at one that we've done for cannabis. And again, this is just demo data. But here, if I start out, I can see, let's see, let me drill up a little bit. So here I can see overall for 21 and 22, what our revenue is for the different product categories. So cartridges, edibles, and flour. I can drill down on that and open it up and see within each category, I have subcategories. Within the major categories, I have some subcategories. And within that, I can drill even further to look at the details by strain, or what we call variant. So I've got all this information right on my homepage. Just like I did on that other report, I could click on just one strain, for example, and see how I'm doing by strain, which customers are buying which strain. Or maybe I want to look by salesperson. And now I can see what how Becky's doing compared. I can look at Bill, and maybe we see that one of them isn't promoting one of our product lines enough, and maybe they need training in that product line. I can drill, I can filter on dates, I can really pull this data apart any way I want. I can also look at this report. Again, I can have a different view by salesperson, but again, I can see what Christine's total sales were, and then filter this report to see what she sold by product, and also how what customers bought. If I open up the customers, again, just like I did before, I can drill in to see what they actually bought. So I've got all kinds of ways I can slice and dice this data. I tried to create, and I did a lot of this myself, and I'm, believe me, not super technical at all. I went into, I created a copy of one tab and created another tab and put some graphs in, because everyone likes to see graphs, so I can see visually how the salespeople are doing in the different product lines. It looks like this gummy, I can't see the whole line, our orange gummies are quite popular in 10 packs, and our licorice gummies in 20 packs. And again, as I click and filter, we can see how interactive the report actually is. So I've created these Power BI reports. Users can come to Power BI and visit their dashboard here. They can also, oops, it went to sleep, hold on. We can also present these reports within Business Central. And if I go ahead and open my Business Central, here you'll see I've got, this isn't a report I showed you before, but I wanted to show you one different one. Here I've got a cultivation analysis report, and right in my Business Central homepage. So here I can see the report coming right from Power BI, and this is a report about what's going on in our cultivation. So we get great interactivity. Business Central, therefore SilverLeaf, integrates with all of Microsoft Office. So not only does it integrate with Excel and Outlook and Teams, it'll integrate with Power BI right within inside. So with that, now what I want to do is Matt and I are going to talk about some of sample reports we've done for some customers. So let me pop up the webinar, the PowerPoint again, and we'll go through some of these. Okay, hopefully you see we're here. Okay, so this first report is what's called the harvest report. And Matt created this for one of our customers. And Matt, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how this customer uses this report.
Yeah, so this customer wanted kind of more of a flat file that they could, take some of this data and manipulate and do some other analysis and take it elsewhere. But this one, we kind of have two similar reports that we'll show you. This one basically is working from a quote unquote finished good in terms of just happens to be more of a cultivation specific customer selling bulk flower. So this is kind of starting from their finished goods and working backwards. So they wanted to understand, okay, from I produced this much bulk flower, how much biomass did that take? How long did it spend in flower? When was it harvested? When was it transferred in flower? How much waste came off of that harvest batch? So it's getting a better understanding of their yields from all the way from the original biomass to the actual finished good output, and understanding really their overall yields, whether that's monthly, quarterly, yearly, over multiple, and then be able to compare it across cultivars as well.
Awesome. And you'll notice a lot of these reports, here's my disclaimer, we redacted any information that's specific to the customer, so you can't see that. That's why you'll see big blank spots in some of these reports. That's why I want to show you the generic ones first, because you'll see a little bit of white space in these reports. How did this customer, Matt, do this before they had Power BI or before they even had SilverLeaf? How would they track this sort of data in the past?
Lots and lots of spreadsheets.
So we see, I'm sure everyone on this call lives in a world of a lot of spreadsheets, right?
Yeah, it was just generally putting together a lot of data from a lot of different places, a lot of, X lookup, V lookups to different spreadsheets, and, to be able to get it all kind of slammed together.
And so this must save them a lot of time having this report each day or each week, however often they're looking at it.
For sure.
So now this one is a different customer wanted the same information in a little bit different way. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this report?
Yeah, this one's a pretty close to near identical information, but going the opposite way. So in this case, this is starting from the actual harvest batch. Understanding when it was harvested, the canopy square feet, how many plants came off of it, and then this is where it starts to get into more of the details, being able to compare against expected versus actual. So how much expected biomass did we expect to get off of these plants versus what we actually got, and the same goes for the dry flower, whether it's fresh frozen or dry flower, and so forth.
This one scrolled so far, I've got it on 2 pages. So remember for our attendees, when I popped up that cultivation order and we saw the expected biomass, that's what's driving all these numbers. It's coming from that cultivation order, right, Matt? Did I say that right?
That's correct. Yeah, all of this information is being directly driven out of Business Central.
Awesome. Awesome.
None of this is hard coded.
Oh, that's great. All right. So the next one we have, this is our unscheduled orders report. One of the features in SilverLeaf is that we can integrate with LeafLink. So this example report is leveraging LeafLink as well as Business Central or SilverLeaf data. Even I forget where one stops and one starts. They're so closely tied. Matt, why don't you talk a little bit about this report and how that helps a customer?
Yeah, so this was the kind of, there was like 2 tabs to this report. So this one is more on the unscheduled side, understanding what's been scheduled versus what hasn't been scheduled of the orders that are coming in. You'll notice some of the orange highlights, and obviously some of this stuff has been redacted, but the orange highlights would flow all the way across. But basically that, kind of alerts the customer saying, hey, you have a new submitted order from this customer through LeafLink, but you already have one scheduled for this customer for, let's say, 3 days from now, 4 days from now. So it's highlighting to them, tell them, hey, this order is could probably be basically scheduled with the already existing order that's going to be going out in 3 to 4 days.
Awesome. And so, yeah, so this each row would be a customer, and then the orange ones mean there's already orders out there for them. And then we see down here the LeafLink orders associated. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So the bottom left one is just a little bit more details in terms of breaking out order notes and other things like that were on the right-hand side. So just like how Sarah showed you that you can click on something and it filters down the other visuals, this is the same thing. So they could click on that first red line at the top, which would filter the information down below. So they would be able to directly see down below the order that is scheduled. Would it make sense of trying to throw it in with this one? Does it not? And this is where they can start to make some of those business decisions.
That's awesome. And then let's talk for a minute about our delivery tracking, because this then, when these orders are created, our delivery tracking will do the manifest. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder. Talk a little bit about that that piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of a, of course, this customer happened to be a metric integrated customer. So, because it's metric integrated, you have to go through a metric manifest. But, we basically populate the whole manifest. So, they'll select a driver, the vehicle, they assign them those to the orders, which will generate the metric manifest templates and go from there. Now, if it's not a metric state, let's say a state like Arizona, where we could be the manifest provider, then, same thing goes there. We can print our manifest that has all the same information.
Awesome. I love this one. I saved my favorite one for last because I love, productivity is so important. So why don't you talk a little bit about this one, Matt? Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this customer has a fairly large distribution fulfillment process. So that data became incredibly important to them in making sure that they're efficient each week, month, quarter, that they're meeting their sales needs. There's two tabs to this report. We only highlighted the one, but the other one basically looks identical. But we have a picker data versus packer data showing, the number of units that that's individual picked or versus packed. How many orders was that? How many lines was that? How many boxes did that satisfy? And then the dollar amount. And at the end of the day, these pickers and packers then can get incentivized, based off of, what they picked and packed and, where they basically fell in line versus, their coworkers.
Gotcha. So this fourth person, we can see how well they're doing, and that's by our sample picker when we're doing test data. But yeah, we can really see how people are doing. How did they handle this before they had SilverLeaf?
Once again, it was a Google Sheets, just kind of manual input of, exporting reports out of some other system and manually just have, maintaining some type of either Google or Excel sheet of some nature.
Awesome. Well, and this is really, I think, exciting if they have a sales forecast in Business Central where they're predicting what their sales are going to be each month, and they know their busy season's coming. This helps them decide also probably how many pickers and packers they're going to need, and helps them schedule labor. Okay, thank you. So we don't have samples of other ones, but Matt, tell us about some other exciting reports that you've been working on. I know just last week you were at a client's, and I'm glad you came home so you could do this with us, but I'm sure your family's glad too. But maybe tell us about some other reports that I know you were working on some last week.
Yeah, so I was on site last week during a go live with a client. One of the big ones that they certainly relied on, and really they built with my support of just helping them understand where to get the data, but they really took the ownership and built their own report. But basically you were using, once again, a bunch of either Excel or Google Sheets to plan out their entire extraction process and understand, what's been planned, what hasn't been planned, what are we doing this week, what are we doing next week, what are we doing over the next month. So we were able to satisfy that in a Power BI report where, they're managing production orders in the system for their extraction processes and reserving inventory. So from there, they're able to, every Monday or Friday, I can't remember the exact day, that they, management gets together and they meet and understand, hey, what do we have, planned for next week? What's been reserved? What's been planned? What hasn't been planned? Here's all this fresh frozen. What are we doing with this? What's our end game? So
Awesome.
and basically this was all a bunch of, like I said, Google Sheets, and we were able to eliminate down to some Power BI reports, and they have a bunch of tabs, to cover all the vast amount of information that they want to cover.
That's really interesting. Any others that you'd like to share with us? You talked about trimming, I think.
Oh yeah, so I know
Like a
they
packer.
do some trimming tracking on information as well, just understand per employee, how much, like potentially, dry flower did they receive, how much did they provide back, when did they start, when did they end. Once again, it's all about incentives at the end of the day for
Yeah,
some specific clients, they want to incentivize their employees.
yeah. And also to make sure they're well trained and productive. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, the name of the game.
Thank you again for taking time to join us for today's session. I hope that you got a lot of valuable information that you can apply to your cannabis operations. But if you have questions, please send those over to insider@silverleafcbc.com. And like I said at the beginning of today's webinar, keep an eye out for the on-demand recording in your inbox. Thank you again so much, and we hope to see you on one of our later webinars.